well?
Sure. I can share my screen if you want.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
It says webinar is now streaming live on YouTube, right on the screen.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. Okay, very good. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger. I'm the chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022, and the special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission being conducted via Zoom and through a phone link is hereby called to order. The meeting is also being carried live on YouTube. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start off with a roll call of the commission. Please verbally indicate you are present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly?
Present.
Commissioner Parkins?
Present.
Commissioner Motto?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Onofrio?
Present.
Alternate Commissioner Usal?
Present, and will I be seated?
Let me finish the roll. Myself, Commissioner Harger. Mr. Rossetti, our administrator.
Present.
Mr. Panico, our consultant.
Present.
Ms. Vernassos, our recording secretary.
Present.
Ms. Charbonneau, our stenographer.
Present.
Okay, and for the record, both Commissioners Laskos and Tiki are unavailable for this evening's meeting, and Mr. Nappi, our Downtown Development Coordinator, is excused. Alternate Commissioner Onofrio, you're being seated for Commissioner Laskos, and alternate Commissioner Usal, you are being seated for Commissioner Tiki. Would you please both acknowledge that you are aware of that?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. On the agenda this evening is the continuation of two public hearings. I know there's a number of residents who were disappointed to learn just yesterday, as the Planning and Zoning Commission did, that repairs to City Hall's damaged fiber optic system that repairs had to be take place right now, and it would affect the use of the auditorium in City Hall. We are mindful of our responsibility to hear from the public. So I am proposing that we do hold this evening's meeting, but we use the meeting time for each agenda item to concentrate on each applicant explaining each of the several new documents that have been posted to the city's website for their applications since the opening of the each public hearing. And after that's done, I'll ask the commission to continue the public hearing for each agenda item. And when it is on the agenda of a future meeting, the public would be recognized to address the commission. I felt that unless the public heard all of the new material that was posted, that they would not really have the most up-to-date and current information for them to discuss. So if does any commissioner have any objection or wish to present an alternate proposal?
No, I think that makes sense to me. That sounds appropriate.
Sounds fair.
Okay, you know, I like to remind everyone that this evening's meeting is being recorded on YouTube, and I encourage everyone to take the opportunity to view it. It is accessible through a link on the city's website. I know that you may have some connectivity issues, but we do have two public libraries in town. I'm sure that there's family members and other locations that people could go to be able to view what we learned tonight. So if there aren't any further objections, then I will, by the members of the commission, I'll go forward with our regular protocol. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds
Yes.
good to me.
Okay. All right. So that being said, just going over the protocol, Mr. Rossetti will act as the Zoom meeting host. And while commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting, the chair asks that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking to make sure we're not all speaking over each other and to make sure our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking. Mr. Rossetti will indicate if any Additional written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting. If written comments were received, they will be identified for the record. So the applicant will be identified and they will make their additional presentation. The commission can ask questions during the presentation or at its conclusion. And the applicant and any associates with the applicant can answer the commission's questions at the time they're presented or at the conclusion of the presentation. So that being said, first is the continuation of the public hearing for application 2204. Fred Monahan for a text change of Schedule A, line 10A, and Section 31 to permit farm stores on farmland in R1 and R1A zones. The public hearing for this application opened on March 29th, 2022. And the proposal was presented by the applicant and its attorney. There were several questions from the commission regarding the nature of the proposed text change. Since our April 20th meeting, several documents were received by staff and posted to the city's website, including a revision to the language in the original application. There were subdivision maps posted. There was a 60-page document from the Connecticut Farm Bureau Association titled Connecticut's Land Use Value Assessment Law, Public Act 490, a practical guide and overview for landowners, assessors, and government officials. There was 42 pages identified as supporting farms, and what they were identification of I believe 7 different farms in town with their assessment cards. There was letters in support of the proposal, a petition from those opposed to the proposal, and an email and a response by the applicant to comments contained in the petition against the proposal. Mr. Rossetti, were any other reports, materials, or correspondence received within the time period for this application that need to be acknowledged for the record?
All right now.
Okay. All right, and is the applicant or his representative present?
Yes, I'm attorney Stephen Bellis and I represent Fred Monahan.
Okay, Attorney Bellis, thank you for identifying yourself for the record. Would you please first review the new material posted to the city's website, especially the change in language in the application? We have
Yes.
something that says Schedule A, line 10A, comparing it to the original one. There has been a little bit of change there. And then site plan section 31. This is a whole new section. Unless I'm mistaken, our zoning regulations at this time end with section 31.6. So this would be a new whole section, 31.7.1 through 8. So if you could go give us details of that, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. So as you may recall, I did present a text amendment and we had a public hearing, and this is the continuation of that public hearing. I listened to the comments of the commission and I listened to the comments of the general public. And based on those comments, I made some changes. So the first change I made was on Schedule A. There's a 10A, and that is going to be now called a farm store. And it's for retail sales of agricultural products on farmland. And I now have a 5 acres or greater as permitted in section 31.7. That's the site plan addition I'll get to in a minute, in 2 zones, the R1A and the R1 zones.
All right,
So
just can I just ask Attorney Bellis, sorry for the interruption, but this would be considered a new use line. There is a use line in our zoning regs that is just called use line 10, and that reads that in R1 and R1A, permitted are stands for the display and sale of farm and truck garden produce grown on the premises, provided that such stand does not exceed 300 feet square in area and is located not less than 20 feet from any property or street line. So this would be an addition to that. It would be a subsection.
Right. The distinction being, Commissioner, that a farm stand would be the smaller structure, which is 300 square feet, and this would be a farm store.
Okay.
So
Now,
to answer your question, this would be a new 10A would be added.
Right.
It's new.
can I
30
just
and
ask,
10.
Mr. Rossetti, do you have can you project on the screen that page to show everyone what the land use, I mean, rather the line use is? Use lines?
Under Schedule A,
Yeah.
right now it would say 10.
Right, okay, so for everybody that's participating and or viewing this evening's meeting, there's line 10 at the bottom. That is Schedule A. It's part of our zoning regs. And what this proposal is to add 10A to it. Now, one question I had is that I see on the first two, or the third column, where the first P is, that's for R1A, and the next column is for R1, and the rest of those little blocks with the P's and then it changed to the SRs and all that other stuff, X's, those are for the other zones in town, R2, R3, R4, R5, the CA 1, 2, 3, the CB 1, 2, IA 1, 2, 3, IB 1, 2, LIP, OPD, and RBD. What, there is no comment in your new use line, how would the other zones be affected?
They would not be permitted because if you look at our zoning regulations that we currently have, we have a section called 45.7, and it says farms, truck gardens, etc. And in that section, it says farms have to be on a lot of not less than 200,000 square feet. And shall conform to the following standards and conditions, blah, blah, blah. So in keeping with that 200,000 square feet, a farm store, 200,000 square feet, by the way, is 5 acres.
Okay, so
So-
for the laymen that are listening in, if there was an additional row across that said 10A, it would be a P, and all the rest would be X.
Yeah, they would not be permitted.
Right, now that's how it would be coded. Okay,
That's how it would be coded.
all right,
It would
now,
only be permitted in the R1A and R1 zones.
all right, now, what was the reasoning from the original proposal for it to be on farmland of 10 acres, and now it is 5 acres?
Because I was not aware at that time of the regulation that was added, 45.7, that talked about the 200,000 square feet.
Okay,
So I wanted to be consistent.
all right, does any commissioner have any questions for Attorney Bellis at this point? All right, so we're all on board with that. All right, so if we-
Then what I did was, so if you were a farm stand under 10, I think you don't really have to do anything else. If you're a little farm stand, you could go to Schedule A and you're all set. You know what I'm saying? But since this is a farm store, I added the language that you have to meet the standards that I'm putting forth in the site plan section of 31.
All right,
A farm stand would not have to do that.
all right, but before you get to that point, can I just ask exactly what properties in Shelton are 5 acres or more that this would affect? Do you have a list?
Yeah, if you look at my first requirements under the 31.7.1, the lot has to be, number one, taxed as farmland under our Public Act 490. The applicant has to be a farmer who
Okay,
files.
Attorney Bellis, wait a minute, Mr. Rossetti, can you put that up on the screen, please?
The site plan section 31.
So these are what you're proposing to be the requirements for people to have the ability to have a farm store in
Yeah,
R1A
I
and
changed
R1. Okay,
the first thing I did was under 31.7, I changed the name from a farm building to a farm store because it was
Mhm.
confusing. Okay, because there are other buildings and the public was correct to point that out.
Now this
So
is
this
the
is
new
only
section. This is the new section. 31.7 starts all the new proposed
Yeah.
language.
Brand new, yep.
All right.
So if you go under 10A and you want a farm store and you have 5 acres of land or greater, then you come to this section. You have to meet both, right? So 31.7 would be a new section called farm store. We have other sections prior to this, but nothing to deal with farms.
Hmm.
So now you have to conform to the following standards, and the first one is 7.1. All these are new, commissioners.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. So in order to answer your question, Commissioner Harger, if someone wanted to do a farm store, they would first need the 5 acres in an R1 or R1A zone. They then would have to meet these standards. The land that they want to put the store on has to be taxed in our town as farmland under Public Act 490.
Mhm.
Second, the applicant who wants to build a store must be a farmer. And a farmer is someone who files a Schedule F on their IRS Form 1040, and they report farm income and farm expenses. So it can't be a developer who has a designation as a developer. It has to be a farmer who has a designation on Schedule F of reporting income and expenses on his farm. And the last thing would be the applicant must be registered with the USDA as an agricultural producer.
Mhm.
Right now, and I can only speak to today, there would only be 4 farmers in our town that would qualify for a farm store under 31.7.1 that I am aware of. That would be Mr. Monahan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Rogalowski, and Mr. Beardsley. Now, that is not to say, people obviously pass away and properties are sold, and so those names can change. But as of today, those are the 4 farmers that would qualify to do a farm store in this town.
So just because you may have 5 or more acres doesn't mean that you can go to City Hall and get a building permit and start putting up a farm store. You have to
Not even,
meet
not,
all
you'd
3
have
of
to,
these.
you'd have to go to zoning first,
Mhm.
and then your application would be reviewed under this site plan section 31.7.
Mhm.
And the administrator at zoning would say, okay, I see your lot is greater than 5 acres. Show me your tax returns. Show
Mhm.
me your tax status in Shelton as being taxed as farmland, and show me your agricultural producer USDA license.
Now, does that get all recorded on the assessor's card?
The no, that would not, none of that would be on an
Well,
assessor's
How
card.
do you control a developer who satisfies that criteria for Schedule F out of town?
I don't know any developers that report an IRS form Schedule F reporting farm income and expenses if you're a developer. Farm income and expenses is just that, income produced from farming. Developers produce income from producing homes, apartments, and shopping centers.
My question is, if a developer has a client who qualifies from out of town, is that acceptable? I mean, this doesn't say you can't. Is it the developer? Is it the developer have to be the one who, so-called developer, quote unquote, has to be the one who has the Schedule F?
The applicant, it says, the applicant is the person who is asking for a certificate of zoning compliance
All right, does this prevent an out-of-town applicant who meets that criteria from coming into Shelton proposing to put it on an eligible site?
Only for farmers. I don't know what you mean by out of town. If an out of town, if we get a new farmer from out of town and he is a farmer that files a Schedule F, then he would be allowed to
Okay.
put up a farm store, not a developer. I don't know. It
No,
has
I'm
to be a
sorry.
farmer.
I heard someone use the term developer. I meant to say farmer.
You said developer, so that's why
I
you're
know,
throwing me
I
off.
know I did.
Okay.
The
Okay.
intent was to say the applicant.
Yeah, it's the applicant must be a farmer, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I?
Chair Lavella, go ahead, Elaine.
Must be a farmer on this particular site. I think is that the question that Tony's raising?
Yeah, number 2 says the applicant must be a farmer
And own the property.
and own the property. That's,
And
Yeah.
farm that particular
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, and what happens is that the lot, in order to get your 490 designation, just so everyone knows what that means, is that the city of Shelton gives applicants that are farmers in this particular, well, it may be in other towns, but in this town, they get a tax break on the value of their land because they're farming it. So that's the first part under number 1. So you first need that. Where I live, I may own 5 acres, but my land is not taxed under Public Act 490 because it's not deemed farmland.
Mhm.
So,
So you have to be a resident of Shelton?
well, this section is for lots in Shelton.
I
So
know, but
yeah, the owner would be the owner of the land in Shelton. Yes,
would he be a resident of Shelton?
I believe he would be. He would be the owner.
I mean, whether you own the land or not, you don't have to be a resident to own the land.
That is
Right.
true. Yeah, that is true. But I think under 490, we have very strict guidelines of what that it has to be actively farmed. So it cannot be it can't be like a passive ownership.
You're saying there has to be a component, your proposal would have to be a component of a farm of a minimum size 5 acres.
Yes. And it would have to be farmed, and our assessor regulates what lands qualify as farmland and what activities people are doing on that farmland to get that 490 status.
Does the proposed activity qualify under the 490 requirements? In other words, if you have a 5-acre parcel and you suddenly incorporate these proposed uses, does that jeopardize the 490 status of that property?
I don't know whether how the tax assessor would I don't know the answer to that question, Tony. I think that the tax assessor usually taxes the buildings and land. So I don't know that the tax assessor would care about the use. Yeah.
I think it would be helpful if, first of all, if commissioners have had the opportunity to look at the document that was posted to the website for this application that is called that Public Act 490, that they do so, because the first 5 sections speak clearly as to how something gets designated as farmland and all the different categories that it fall under. And Mr. Rossetti, would it be possible for you to put up on the screen one of the items that was called like additional something or other? It's the 6 farms and then the accompanying assessor cards, because I want to show you how on the assessor card that 490 designation is identified. I saw it when I was reviewing the material earlier this afternoon. So that's the Public Act thing. If you keep scrolling down, I'll mention there's the index. The first 5 sections are the ones. If you keep going down and down again, and this is all background information, but when you right there, Go up again, the other way. Other way, yeah, right there, that gray. These are the categories from what I understand. Keep going, because all you can see is tillable. Okay, up, there we go.
That's it.
So those are the classes that property apparently can be classified in. So if you now can switch over to one of the assessor cards that was also put on the website for, there's Fairview, Guys Echo Gardens, Jones, Laurel Glen, White Hills Distillery, and White Hills Cider Mill. You'll see how those land classes are noted on an assessor card. So it is definitely controlled by the city.
Yes, it is. Yeah. The tax assessor, I think, determines whether your property qualifies as a farm under 490.
Yeah, there's going until Mr. Rossetti gets that ready, going back to just the index. It talks about this is a guide and overview for landowners, assessors, and government officials. So there are guidelines in here as to how things get classified as farmland. Mr. Rossetti, are you able to find an assessor card that was, there you go. So switch it around and go down to the bottom right. And you keep going, keep going. All right, this one isn't a good one, but there's the area 490. Find another one because that's filled in on, I think this is the one that wasn't, but there you go. There's the different categories. This particular property has 43.8 acres and the value is $10,512. See above it, we're go up above the next block up. Don't move the screen. Don't move the screen. The next block up says comment on the right. Yeah, right above that, it says $876,000. That's the total market value of those 43 acres. However, bottom left corner, where it says assessment history, current, all the way to the left, the current assessment for that property is $7,350. So when it gets classified,
Can you scroll over a little bit further?
10,005.
What about the buildings? The
Yeah.
buildings are listed, but I can't see what they are.
yeah,
Well, in this particular case, Commissioner, the building, there may not be a building because it has 0 on it. They're not
Yeah,
taxed.
that's right.
Although there is an outbuilding, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe an outbuilding was built in 2020. So
Oh, yeah.
the tax assessor would tax the land and then she taxes the building. Just so everyone knows, if someone were then to remove the designation, you have to keep this designation for 10 years. I'm not a tax attorney, but I do know this. And if you remove this designation, then that owner has to go back and make up the taxes of what the value of their land was without the farm status. So it behooves them to keep this tax status. They can't just do it for 1 year and make it go back. They have to do it for at least, I think, 10 years. So it does give a break. There's no question about it. And the reason that the break is given is because farming is a difficult business and they want to encourage farming in the towns. So the state legislature has come up with a way to give the farmers a quote break in paying taxes, provided they keep their land as farmland and use it as farmland. And that is why we have section 490.
Before you move
So-
on, could I ask 2 questions? So what about a tenant farmer? He doesn't own the land, but he leases it. How would that play into this?
So it's the actual land that gets the 490 status. I don't know. So it would be the owner who gets that 490 status. The tenant in your scenario may be a farmer who files a Schedule F and farms the land. And he may also be registered with the USDA.
So would he have to be the one that's putting the building up? The farm store?
owner would have to give his consent, the owner would have to give his consent to put the farm store up because he's the one that has the 490 status. It's like when we do, let's say for a variance, I'm just giving an example. An applicant can make an application, but the owner has to sign off on it and give his consent. An applicant can't just go ahead and make an application for a variance unless the owner of the property signs off on it. It would be the same situation.
So a tenant, and this kind of gets back to what Tony was asking before, the tenant, possibly a developer, that wasn't what Tony's intention was, but can a tenant farm come in and put the building up on someone else's property? As long as he's also a farmer, he also has to be a farmer?
Well, I think that the applicant, in this
Would have
case,
to
in
be the owner?
yours, yeah, the applicant could be a tenant farmer, but the land would have to be farmland. It couldn't just be any lot. It'd have to be
Okay.
taxed as farmland under 490, and they only do that for owners. You
Okay.
follow me?
Steve, I know you're not you said you were not an expert at 490, but I'm going to ask you a question anyhow. If a property enjoys a 490 consideration and now becomes a major, puts on it a development that becomes a major income generator, do they jeopardize their 490 status? Or do they enjoy the advantage of it?
I don't want to give I don't know the answer, Tony, to that question.
Okay. I think we probably.
I
need
don't
to
think
ask
that the
the
490,
assessor.
I don't think that the 490 status, from my understanding, has to do with any kind of income production
What would they do? Just
ranges.
exclude that part of it?
I think the 490 requirements are that it's farmed. It's not just vacant land. It's not just like wooded forest land. It has to actually be farmed. I don't know. I don't ever remember seeing any schedules if you make this much or you make this little that it matters. But I don't want to give it. I can't say for certain.
Mhm.
But I don't believe that income would affect your 490 status. I think it's more along the lines of, is it being used as farmland?
My last question to you, Attorney Bellis, is that you mentioned 4 property owners in town that currently would fit into this situation.
Correct.
Is the 5 acres that they hold, obviously they hold more, but at least the 5 acres that they hold in an R1 or R1A zone?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So the next thing that the public and the commissioners were asking me about was the size of the structure. So what I've done is I've limited in section 7.2 the size of the retail area at the store, okay, not the building itself. I think there was confusion, and rightly so, because I didn't draft it articulately enough. But now I've delineated that the store, if it's a smaller lot, less than 10 acres, the store cannot exceed 2,000 square feet. And if it's a larger than 10 acres or 10 acres or greater, the store could be a little bit larger and be 3,000 square feet.
But
I
that
think-
doesn't mean that they can't have a larger building and only devote a portion of it to retail.
That's right. That's what people were saying,
Yes.
that there are farm buildings. There are other buildings on a farm, a silo, a barn. Oh, I don't know what other farm buildings are there.
Garages.
Yeah, garages for
Sheds.
your tractors and sheds, correct. So the only thing that I was limiting the size is of the store.
Mhm.
But that does not prevent a larger building being built if this was to be approved, and only a portion of it, no more than 2,000 square feet or 3,000 square feet, depending on the acreage, being devoted to retail.
Yes, right now, if you had a building that was not a farm store, you would still have to go to the regular zoning in R1 and R1A to determine whether you can build that building, provided it's not a store. If it's a
But if-
barn, if it's a garage, a shed, or silo, you would still have to follow our zoning regulations and the setbacks, and I'll get to that in a minute. So this, I've limited it. So so this is only the size is limited if you're building the store. Other farm buildings, you just go to other sections of the zoning laws to see whether you can build it or not. Coverage, square, all those issues.
The way that 31.7.2 reads though, is that while you can't have more than 2,000 or 3,000 square feet of retail, it doesn't say what your limits are on non-retail.
That's because the rest of it is in our zoning regulations.
All right, as long as
yeah.
that's clarified in there.
Yeah, this is only for the store, remember. If you're
Yeah.
going to build a barn, you have to go see zoning, show them the barn that you're going to build, show them the area. Is it right on the street? Is it, too close to the, just all the things that we always do when we get a building approved.
So any excessive space would be controlled by zoning.
Yes.
Okay, should there be not a reference to that in?
No, I don't think it's
.7?
necessary because this particular regulation only deals with the store.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Oh, that's okay. So the next thing was hours of operation. I had the word shall. That was probably not a good term to use. So I said the facility may be open between 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. If
Your
someone wants,
original one was 8 to 9. So you cut it back 2 hours?
I did. I cut it back, and I also kept it in line with if they want to make it shorter, they could.
Yeah.
Okay.
8 to 7, is that?
8
Yeah.
to 7, yeah.
Okay.
The next section had to do with lighting. I think we were okay on that. Dark sky lighting. That's kind of what that your commission's requiring now for new developments anyway. So this would be no different.
And how was it stated before, Attorney Bellis?
I don't think I used the word dark sky lighting as defined
said
by
something-
IDA.
You said something about it was no glare.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right. I think I was this is more precise is what I'm trying to get at.
good. Okay.
Parking, there was discussions about that. So we came up with 1 space per 125 feet of gross area of the store. Remember the store, I don't know the exact size of the store, but it can't be more than 2,000 if it's on land that's less than 10 acres, and it can't be greater than 3,000 if it's greater. But, obviously these stores could be anywhere in between or smaller. So we also talked about what kind of parking could it be on, and we came up with gravel, pavement, or milling.
All right, so if doing a quick calculation, am I correct in that a 2,000 square foot building could have no more than 16 spaces? And a 3,000 square foot,
Gonna check your math. Was this the little building that you mentioned? Yeah.
well, 2,000, a building that has no more than 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Could not have more than 16 parking spaces, and one that is 3,000 could have no more than 24 spaces.
That's not what it says.
I would,
No, I think it's the other way around. It has to
That's
have,
saying that's the minimum requirement.
right,
yeah, minimum. Yeah. I agree with
So-
Tony on that. Yeah.
why would we want minimum? Why wouldn't we have maximum, the maximum they could have?
Well, the required, this is putting forth their proposal as the required parking ratio.
Mhm.
It doesn't say you can't put more than unless you put that stipulation in. Normally, if you have to have 2 spaces per apartment unit and the developer wants to put like 2.5, so he has extra for visitors, he puts the 2.5 in.
Right, I understand that, but
Yeah, you always put the minimum.
well,
But I think we're,
It should say parking shall be provided at not less than 1 space per 125.
That's fine. Yep.
right, and now
If the
Commissioner Moto,
commission wants an upside limit to it, they can add that.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that was the concern certainly that I had and others, I think, that this would end up being a big parking lot that you don't
Right.
need.
I agree.
And even 16 to me sounds like a fair amount, quite a lot, actually. And you're getting that 125, that's for other type of retail operations, not farm stand type operations.
But remember one thing, this could be a portion of a larger building, and there can be employees associated with the larger building, so it could still end up being a larger parking lot.
So we were not talking about this, I thought, as being
This
part
is
of
just
our
a portion
building.
allocated to the store, right?
Well, isn't that also a concern that I think I hear floating around, that we're not looking for a larger type of building with a section of,
This is what the
Farm
commission has
store.
to take into account, yes.
So
Yeah,
so
I,
technically, they can build a larger building on the property with zoning approval, but
Right.
no more than 2,000 square feet of it can be used for retail? Is
Mhm.
that
Right.
how that could
Right.
work out?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
So it could be a big building.
Mhm.
Well, a big building would be
farm could have a
allowed
big building.
now on a farm without this regulation. You don't need this regulation. You can build a big building on a farm as long as I said before, you meet the other zoning requirements that we have, coverage, setbacks. I mean,
But
So-
you could put a farm store into that space as long as it doesn't exceed 2,000 square feet?
yes, you could do that. I'm trying to, yes, to answer your question, you could do that. You just can't, the store can't be too big.
I
this is
would
a
not be,
kind of different picture than what I thought we were talking about, frankly.
What-
Explain what you
Okay.
mean, Commissioner. I'm not sure I follow you.
I think it would be complicated, let's say, if this is part of a barn. So you've got one whole process of review for that. And then another process here for some kind of retail operation as part of, I don't know, as part of a barn.
Well,
I can't,
Yeah,
I think
I
we're
don't
gonna-
think, I don't think that was envisioned. I don't think
That's
that's
what
what
I'm
is envisioned. I think
That's-
what's envisioned here is that there would be a building and it would be a farm store. And the farm store would be, let's call it 2,000 square feet. But that farm may have other buildings on it. It may have a silo, it may have.
that I can picture, but now you're
Yeah.
talking about the retail being part of some other bigger building.
A commissioner asked me that. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But
Well,
I'm
don't
not
we
sure.
need to have that clear?
yeah. If it's gonna be a farm store, the building needs to be dedicated to it being solely a farm store.
I
And
think
that
so.
way you.
Well,
can
that would have to
control-
be stipulated in the regulation.
Exactly. So that's
Without
one.
going into regulations, as far as a 10-acre plot of land for a farm, what's the biggest building that can be put up there, zone wise?
I would say the building could be huge,
Well, what's
You could-
huge?
hundreds of thousands of square feet
Zone
under our
wise,
zoning regulations. Yeah,
they could do that,
yes.
or the
I
owner
would say
could do
that.
that.
Yeah, if you look at our regular regulations on a 10-acre piece, you can build a big building. Well, think about it. We have houses on 1 acre that are 4,000, 5,000 square feet on 1 acre. So that's under our regular R1 zoning regs. So if you have 10 acres, it could be that much bigger. It could be a 60,000 square foot building.
Mr. Rossetti, could you fix the screen so we can see
And
line
still
one,
call it a farm
please?
Yeah.
build.
Yeah, I don't know that the farmers would do that, but to answer your question, you could.
Because you could have greenhouses, you could have
Yeah.
stables, you could have,
Yeah.
I don't know, barns, cows.
Yeah, this would be a very small structure in relation to what you could build that's not a farm store.
Okay,
2,000 square feet is tiny compared to a building that you can build now, currently under our zoning regulations on a farm. This is teeny compared to.
so this 2,000 square foot retail area, does that include, I know the applicant was talking about preparing food and kitchen and,
Yep.
and, freezers, and so would that include everything of that? Or would that be part of another building or part of this building?
So
Yes,
that
retail
gets,
area
I think that
just-
gets down to uses. I can jump down there if you'd like, Commissioner.
No, yeah, okay.
So we were on parking before. So the next one is uses, which is 31.7.6. So now we have that the farm building containing the store could be used for year-round sale of raw or processed agriculture products, blah, 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 and all these things. So the building could have these other uses, but you can only have the store area could only be 2,000 square feet of retail. So they may do other things on the farm. And now I want to refer you again, I have to go back. We have a regulation that is already on our books under 45.7. And it talks about what it can do and cannot. Farms shall not include commercial piggeries or commercial breeding, raising of mink, fox, or other fur bearings. We have those already defined. We also have all farm buildings, enclosures shall comply with the setbacks in your district. And then we have what farms may include: preserving, sugaring, woolery, spinning, cider manufacturing, value-added processing of agricultural products. These are already in our regulations. So
Right.
there's not something new.
No, I understand that, but what I'm trying to get at is that the actual retail area of the building is maybe 2,000 or 3,000 square feet.
Right.
Now, to do the other things that they do to make the retail area, is that a separate building? Or is that going to be incorporated into the 2,000 or 3,000 square feet? Or would that be an additional expansion of the 2,000 or 3,000 square feet?
I think that's a very good question. And I think that it would depend on the farmer's business model. He may already have an area where he or she, I should say, is doing these other processing. Like there may be, for instance, a greenhouse where they're already growing things that are not connected to the store. So it really depends on your business model. So I don't think I can answer that.
Okay.
But it really depends if you're doing, if a lot of these farms do have greenhouses. A lot of them have gardens or other buildings where they may be doing their horticultural products or services that are really not in the store itself. And then
About
they
the
would.
kitchen.
Yeah, that Commissioner Kelly has raised an interesting point about these other uses being part of this bigger building, which is, I think, what we're trying to steer away from.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that, don't forget now in these uses, the store has to have 50% of its revenue produced on premises. So either,
That's fine, but a big
Where does
production
it say that?
for
Like for-
processing food.
Or from, don't forget the or.
Yeah, there is an or from Shelton farmers or agricultural craft
Right.
producers.
So
Yeah,
they can bring it in from other farmers and sell it here.
in
Right.
Shelton. Yeah, Shelton
It's like a
farmers.
farmer's
Yes.
market, basically.
Yes, exactly.
So I have one question. Like, say they bring in like tomatoes or cucumbers from
Yeah.
somewhere else, from another town, and they just pickle it in Shelton. Does that count as it being produced in Shelton, or would that count as being produced in a different town?
Yeah, that would probably come into the other 50%, Commissioner. They are allowed to sell it, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't know that would count.
There are cases where there's honey that is, the hives are not in the city limits, and
Yeah.
it's can it be?
Yeah, they're allowed to sell that. It just, it would not go towards the 50% of the revenues. I think that's what the commissioner was asking me. Not, they're not precluded from selling it.
Mhm,
It's almost impossible to track.
mhm. Very difficult. Attorney Bellis, I noticed in that paragraph in the middle where it says packaged meat and poultry and other value added products. I thought the
And that
previous,
comes from
wait,
our.
wait, I'm not done.
Oh,
I
sorry.
thought that there was, after value added and before the word products, I thought we specified agricultural products. As the,
I thought it said, in the first sentence, of raw and or processed agricultural and
okay,
horticultural products. Yeah, it does say agricultural products. That's what we're talking
okay,
about
we
here.
want to make sure
That line
that,
doesn't.
Huh?
All one sentence.
it's at the beginning of the sentence. That's what Attorney Bellis is saying.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
have it. Yeah, it is in the first. Yeah, yeah. If you read the, it says processed, raw and or processed. It does say the word agricultural.
It does, yes.
Okay,
And other such.
Other
Yeah.
value added.
Yeah, but maybe the
the
word
value
such ought to
added.
be in there then if you're referring to what you said earlier in the sentence.
mhm,
Under 45.73, which is already one of your regulations, the words are, I kind of lifted it from that.
Okay.
It says, and I'll quote it, quote, and value added processing of agricultural products, and sell the same and blah, blah, blah. So
so would, beeswax candles be considered okay to sell because they come from,
I believe so. Yeah.
because,
Yeah, we were talking about that last time, if you recall. Agricultural craft producers, we were talking about wreaths at Christmas and those kind of things.
yeah,
The next section has to do with buffers. And again, we have currently that in our section 45.72 that all farm buildings shall comply with the required setbacks for the district, and enclosed and whatnot. I did add a setback of 50 feet from the street in 37.8, because the setbacks in R1 and R1A, I thought that there should be not only the building, but the parking shall be 50 feet from the street.
mhm,
The second thing would be a buffer. I just thought that that would help any residential neighborhoods, that there'd be a wooded buffer or green belt that separates the store from, and so that it wouldn't just, you would have to have some kind of blocking trees and whatnot to kind of buffer the neighbors.
so 31.7.7 is the same as originally submitted, but 31.7.8 setbacks is new.
Yeah, yes, originally in your statute, it does say that any farm building, this would be a farm building, has to comply with the setbacks. But I got nervous because it said they talk about in under 45.7.2 that the pastures and any fencing and blah, 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 not less than 5 feet from any property or street line. I just wanted to make it perfectly clear that, yeah, we would abide by the setbacks in R1 and R1A, but the setbacks from R1 and R1A, I put a 50-foot street setback.
Mhm.
There,
Are there,
according to Article 4510-3, it says any proposed building intended for farm, oh, that's a winery. So I guess that's.
Yeah, I know, that was a winery, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Attorney Bellis, unless I'm mistaken, where is it that would mention that the farm store may be used for production of foodstuffs?
Say that again, please.
Did I overlook, does it include anywhere language which says that the farm store would be permitted to produce food products? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it says it. It says services and activities, including farm produce, packaged meat and poultry
where are you?
under uses.
Okay.
33.76, 31.76.
Yeah,
Steve,
And it,
Says
Yes.
kitchen abiding by state and local.
yeah. If they want to have a kitchen, you got to get the health department's approval. You can't just throw a kitchen in there. Yeah.
Right.
so it's to be understood that in a farm store, not only are they selling things, but they're producing things for sale.
Oh, absolutely. They have to produce 50% of their
doesn't.
revenue.
Jenny, it doesn't say that. That's
That's
what
what I want.
bugging me. It says the farm building containing the farm store. So that's with the farm stores within this building.
Mhm.
So if the farm store is 3,000 square feet, the building is bigger.
Mhm.
That's what's kind of, it
Vague.
doesn't add up.
Yeah, that's vague.
You think I made a mistake?
there are
Commissioner?
limitations on the sizes of farm buildings, by the way.
Oh, there are certainly some limitations, but they're
Well-
bigger than 2,000 square feet.
Oh, certainly, but they wouldn't be enormous. A 5-acre parcel, you'd be allowed approximately 4,000 square feet.
On a 5-acre, yeah. I was
That's
doing it in
all
my
your
head.
that's all your accessory buildings, Steve.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. On a 10-acre piece, I was trying to figure out what that
Okay,
would be.
8,000 square feet, but that includes the rest of your agricultural buildings necessary for the farm.
Again, a lot of these farms, I'm not playing devil's advocate. A lot of them are probably pre-existing non-conforming buildings that were before our regulations too.
Possibly.
I mean, yeah, they're just, some of these farms are rather old in this town, so.
So
I
with this new proposed 2,000 or 3,000 building have to fall within the total limit, as Mr. Panicos just brought up,
Mhm.
would it be part of that total that's allowed for that piece of land? Or would it be additional?
I don't think it's additional. I think that,
I mean, it doesn't matter what we think. I mean, it's got to be,
it's a building, so
They-
it has to conform to the other zoning regulations. We're not throwing out our zoning regulations. We're just saying that if you want a store, we're limiting the size of it. That doesn't mean you can do anything you want on the rest of your property. This is a
no,
choice you've
I
made.
understand that, but I'm saying now if we're hearing that the farm can only have a maximum of 8,000 square feet, say, of building.
If it's
Is
not
this a
pre-existing,
port-
if it's not
Is that
pre-existing,
Right.
cumulative?
Understood.
Yeah.
But
I would say it would be, yes. I think that that's how the zoning I think that's how we do any of our zoning, currently.
Steve,
Yes.
according to your proposal, anyone that comes in and meets what you set forth as criteria can demand their approval because all it requires is site plan.
Yeah.
You realize that?
Yes.
So the commission has to know ahead of time that the street that it's going to be located on is adequate to take the traffic, and all of these things have to be determined ahead of time because you don't have a second bite at the apple.
Right.
You don't know where the buildings are going to go. You don't know how you're going to impact the budding areas. You don't
Or
know
the
how you're
design
going
of
to
the
impact
building.
roads. That's why I recommended to you early on that this be done as a special exception process so that you can look at each individual proposal on its own merits. And we wouldn't have to be worried about somebody else sneaking in the back door with a proposal somewhere that we find totally unacceptable.
Yes, I understand your comments perfectly clear. If the commission said, we like this regulation, we want to help farmers in this town, we want to keep the farms and not turn them into subdivisions, but we would like a little bit more oversight, you absolutely could put this same section in the what we call the special exception section of our regulations, and then it would not be a You still have a site plan, but it wouldn't be under section 31.7. It would be under, I don't know what's
Yeah.
the last, whatever it is in special exceptions, you would have to add a new one in there. I don't think we have one for farms, guys. So that is certainly something the commission can do. I don't think that's an impediment to approving the text amendment, except it would be approved subject to. Alex, do you have the last section under special exceptions?
I'm getting to it.
I don't know the numbers by heart. Oh, I might have it. Hold on. Yeah.
Getting to it.
Yeah, I do have it. So there would be, under our current zoning regulations as amended, we have a section called, where is it? It's called Special Exceptions under section 33. And the last one, let me get to it, is 30.
320.
Yeah, hang on. I want to make sure I get the last.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 33.20.
Yeah, there is one. The last one I see is a 20. Let me
Yeah,
see what-
we have to double check.
You have a multi-family residential development. I think that's under 3319. I don't think that's used very much, but I don't see anything after that, Tony.
I think,
No, there's
I
not.
think I thought there was a 20, but
There is a 20.
I'm not
There is.
positive, Steve.
Yeah, it
There
says
is, okay.
condition. It says conditional approval.
That applies, that's a general paragraph. It's not a
Yeah.
specific one.
Yeah, it's not specific.
The
I
other
think
ones
the-
are all specifics.
Yeah, the last specific one that I see is a 3319. It's called multifamily residential. Do you guys have anything? Yeah, that's it. There it is. Yeah.
That may be, Steve, but I can't say for positive.
Yeah, I just pulled it up on my screen, and that's what I see. So to answer your question, this exact section could be put as let's just make argument's sake, 33 point. I don't know. I don't want to say 20 because there is a 20. We'll call it 0.21 or something. And then it would fall. Then the site plan would be reviewed under the special exception. I guess what Tony is saying is then no matter what, the applicant has to come in with a site plan that would be reviewed by the zoning commission. The difference being, although I still think under a site plan, Tony, that the commission can consider under the case law, the health and safety of the residents. But if you feel more comfortable with being under the
I
special
wouldn't want
exception.
to go to court with just that one.
Yeah, it may be a little iffy.
Also, Steve, you were talking about meeting just the setback requirements for the zone. But there have been other situations where we put in greater setbacks. For example, farm wineries. If you want to relocate a farm winery in a proposed building, it has to be not less than 100 feet from a street or property line.
Yeah, that's why I added the 50 feet, Tony. I made it more, I increased the setback.
Well, I think the concern with an activity like a winery where you have the public coming and going to it on a frequent basis, it should be further away. And I guess I personally would question whether 50 feet is adequate.
Mhm. Okay. Attorney Bellis, is there? any
Adequate from a
material?
street, but I don't know if it's adequate from a property line.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I did that was because of section 45 already has that for farms that you abide by the zoning setbacks. That's already in your regulations. That's
And
why
what
I
is that?
follow that.
What is that?
45, that one was, what would I say it was 45.7? Let me look. But, oh yeah, 45.7. So they say, this is just 45.7.2. All farm buildings, enclosures, and feed yards shall comply with the required setbacks for that district.
That's for a small farm stand, Steve.
Well, this doesn't say farm stand, but whatever, except that the applicable
But that's all that's
setbacks,
permitted.
the applicable for R1 shall be those of
Okay,
the R1 district.
Mhm.
I just went by your regs, guys. If you want to make it 100 like you did in the winery, that's fine. I just didn't want to rewrite all the regulations. Why are
Well, I'm
some
just saying
farms?
that the commission in the past has recognized that there are certain types
Yes.
of commercially related agricultural type uses. For example, greenhouses, they have to be 100 feet away from the property line.
Yeah, and the winery, as you previously
And a
mentioned.
winery has to be 100 feet away. So the commission has looked at specific types of uses according to the activity associated with them.
No question. If you think 100 feet is the more appropriate setback, that's fine.
Well,
I
I
would
know if I lived in an abutting property, I wouldn't want a farm building with public activity only 50 feet away from my line.
Yeah, I got it.
And I think this buffering, the green buffer needs to be defined as to the width of it and what it would consist of. Because, if you don't define it, you could just put a couple little bushes along the line, not really have a protection for the adjoining people.
Once again, the special exception process gives you the flexibility to demand a greater level because you
Yeah,
know what the personal situation is.
Yeah.
I follow that logic, and if the commission is comfortable or more comfortable wanting to review each and every one, then it can be. I fully recognize it can be put in the special exception section as a new section, and then you'd have to follow the regular special exception procedures as well as what's in this particular regulation.
Hey, Attorney Bellis, did you want to go over anything about these two maps, that record subdivision maps that were filed, posted to the website? That was new information.
No, not particularly. No.
We're losing the audio.
No, I said I'm okay. This is a text amendment, so I am trying to make sure that the commission's comfortable with the language in the text amendment.
Well, could you just clarify though, why were these two maps submitted and posted to the city's website? What was the purpose of that? These were received June 7th, 2022.
Yeah, maybe not by me. I'm not sure. I didn't submit any maps.
Mr. Rossetti, you're aware of the two that I'm talking about? One's an assessor's map and one says record subdivision plan. Where do these come from?
Not from me.
They're stamped June 7th.
I don't know.
Received, June 7th, planning and zoning. So
Right.
where did these come from, Mr. Rossetti? They,
Maybe from the public. I'm not sure.
I don't know about that. Okay.
Not from me. That's all I can say. I wouldn't do this for a text amendment because this is not applicable.
Mhm. So, Mr. Rossetti, where are you?
I'm right here.
Okay, so where do these two maps come from?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think they were submitted by a member of the public.
I just want to clarify so that if Mr. Attorney Bellis had to address them, he would have the opportunity to do so. Okay,
They were not
That's
submitted by the applicant. That's
okay. All right, so that's everything from the applicant?
Yes, I would say that we covered it fairly well. Yes.
Okay. All right, so that was the purpose of having this discussion tonight, was so that the new material submitted by the applicant could be reviewed. Does
Correct,
any
yeah.
commissioner have any further comments or questions of Attorney Bellis this time? Mr. Pianico, do you?
No, I don't, Madam Chairman.
Okay. All right,
We
well.
have a lot to review and a lot to discuss.
If
Absolutely.
this were to become a special exception rather than a site plan approval, would we still be going through this same process, or is that a whole new process?
No, it'd be the same process. We're asking the commission to add, don't forget here, under Schedule A, this new section called 10A, right? So that would all stay the same. The only difference, Commissioner, would be that instead of it being in section 31.7, you'd have to change the numbers to 33 point, I think we talked about that, 33.20.
Right.
It's the exact same. There would be no other changes. It's a text amendment. We're changing our zoning regulations to add this section. You're just saying, don't put it in this particular section, put it in this section, which is fine. That's fine.
Okay, so this conversation, discussion would all be applicable.
100% applicable. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
The only difference I think Mr. Panico brought out is that you would also have to, under a special exception, you have general special exception language, right? You'd have to meet those as
Yes.
well as these requirements.
Steve, I just want to ask you, is there any reason, or do you have any objection if it were to be made line 9D as opposed to 10.1? Because it's another activity that seems to fall up in the farming categories.
Can we go to that?
It's not really a stand.
No, it's not a stand.
No, it's not a stand at all. That's
For
why.
example, on line 9C talks about the wineries. Line 9B talks about keeping and raising livestock, horses and things like that. So now we're talking about a farm store. Isn't that more logically under 9 as 9D?
Alex could pull it up.
Yeah, he is.
We have 9A farm.
Attorney Bellis, we're losing your audio.
Oh, are you? Okay.
That's better.
Is that better?
How much?
I don't want to get in your face, but I'm moving closer to my computer. Is that better?
Yeah, you're good.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, you could do a 9D, Tony. It wouldn't make any difference.
It just seems to fit better in the regulations as 9D. Factory stores.
It could be a 9D,
Not factory
absolutely.
stores, I'm sorry, farm stores.
Farm stores, yeah. It could be a 9D, and then 10 would stay the way it is.
Right. I mean, 10 is an open air farm stand. It's designed for the normal little things. It's not really.
Yeah,
designed
those
for
are in a
big
lot of different
commercial
zones.
operation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be a perfectly acceptable change.
All right, so Mr. Panico, could you explain for all those that are listening in tonight and participating, the next step would be to either approve or deny the text change. But after that, like we've done for Dogtopia and for the 3 buildings on Platte Road, would it be that the applicant would have to come back for the business use, or do we go down a different lane?
If it's the commission's decision to modify and adopt these regulations,
Mhm.
except that they be classified as special exceptions, of course.
Right,
If they were done that way, then when an applicant comes in, they file for a special exception for a site-specific proposal, together with all the accompanying details.
okay, and that would be,
And that gets processed separately.
and that would, again, receive a lot of scrutiny by the commission. And it's just not a sign off by staff kind of process.
Exactly.
As a site plan would be.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's beyond, it's everything that a site plan would be plus.
okay,
You
And-
have more judgment on a special exception
Right.
than you do on a site plan.
right.
I
And
would
then
agree with that.
also for those who aren't as familiar with the process, would we again have a public hearing?
Yes, all special exceptions require public hearings.
All right, so there's that additional comfort level for the commission to have.
And
Exactly.
notice to adjoining property owners too.
Mhm. Right, okay.
Okay, as well as the immediate neighbors.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
to adjoining,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, well, anyone that would be in an R1, R1A.
No, well,
No,
not
just
necessarily.
adjoining, just adjoining.
Just
Yeah,
adjoining.
adjoining
It's
property
those
owners would have
neighbors
to
that
get
are
notice.
impacted by the specific proposal.
Yeah, right, exactly, because it's for a specific location.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's site
Okay.
specific
Site
with a specific site plan and a specific program that goes with it.
Okay.
Correct.
And that also includes the uses contained
Yes.
thereon. Okay. All right. All right, so last call for any comments or questions of the applicant.
No, I think we've went over it very well, and I just want to be clear that I do not have any objection if you take this section and put it as 9D. And if you take the site plan, section 31, and incorporate it in your special exception, you'll just have to change the number
Mhm.
to
Okay.
33.21, I guess.
Right, and is any special refiling required for that, Mr. Panico?
No, I believe you can work off of this.
Okay,
What it turns into is if you were to look favorably on it, then you are going to dictate modifications to the regulation.
okay.
Right.
All right, so last call for any commissioner to pose any questions to the applicant. And last call for Mr. Panico to make any remarks.
Not at this time.
All right, so is there, I stated at the beginning of the meeting, the purpose was us to go over all this new information and get clear in our mind as to what changes were proposed. And at the next time that this application is on an agenda, then the public would have the ability to address the commission on this particular issue. So is everybody clear with that?
You're not going to allow the public to speak at all tonight?
I would have loved to, but seeing that we had so many,
Such a long discussion.
no, not the length of it at all. It was that there was all this new information, and I thought it would be a benefit to the public for them to hear all this and think about it and be able to have some comments that would reflect on the changes.
Yeah, I think everyone should digest what we just talked about before we go into something that other than what we thought was going to be isn't.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, some of the concerns may now not need to be a concern, but there may be some new ones. So in any event, so we would have to have a motion to continue the public hearing. And the understanding is, as we've done in the past, the public would have the first chance to make comments to the commission on this particular issue. That would how we would start off.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, that's a motion to continue the public hearing made by Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second. Commissioner Onofrio will second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Onofrio. So on the motion to continue the public hearing for application 2204 made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Onofrio, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Onofrio,
Aye.
Commissioner Usel,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion to continue the public hearing passed with a vote of 6-0. So there'll be this particular application will be on the agenda of an upcoming meeting. Staff, Mr. Rossetti, can you give us an idea? This is something like in a month's time or 2 months' time. Just for everyone's information, we have 16 active applications right now before the commission. And they're
Just
in
to
all different stages.
Remind, Madam Chairman, you
Yeah.
have an obligation to close the hearing within 35 days
Mhm.
unless you obtain an extension of time from the applicant.
Even with a text change?
Well, theoretically, theoretically, it's not an automatic action
Mm-hmm.
on an amendment. But the process is when you get it, the general process for planning and zoning commissions are that you open the public hearing, and you're supposed to close it within 30 or 35 days,
Right.
unless the time limit is extended. So to have a nice, clean record, I think we should request the applicant to provide the extension of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I always viewed it as you acting in your legislative capacity. so
You're
I-
right. You're right, Steve. We're not.
I
jeopardizing-
wasn't gonna do that. And you know that, Tony.
I know you wouldn't, Steve.
There's when you act administratively, Tony's dead right. You have certain deadlines, 65 days, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But I always took the position, and Tony knows it, that when you're acting in your legislative capacity, those deadlines don't apply.
Right. The automatic approval is not a jeopardy.
Automatic approval has not happened after so many days.
Right. So, Mr. Rossetti, for the benefit of everyone here, listening in, watching, whatever, do you have, should we say right now, we tentatively could look at July 20th as when this matter would again appear on the agenda?
That's certainly a possibility.
Okay, so it's more like stay tuned and, okay,
It won't be before July 20th, that's for sure.
right. Okay, so we can assure everybody that. Okay, thank you, Attorney Bellis.
Thank you all for listening to me, and I hope we made some progress.
I think we have. Okay. All right. So next on the agenda is the continuation of the public hearing for application 2208 Brookview Apartments, 303 Old Bridgeport Avenue. And that is Stephen Bell, PDD number 86, Stephen Bellis for Brookview Apartments LLC at 303 Old Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 91, Lot 16, for a major modification of PDD number 86 for 30 apartments with on-site parking.
For the
This
record,
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
application was accepted for review on April 12th, 2022. Public hearing opened on April 27th. The commission at that time heard a description of the proposal from the applicant, who indicated the possible acquisition of an adjacent parcel, adding additional acreage to the original parcel. The applicant also reviewed a lot line revision map and indicated it met with the board of directors at Sunwood Condominiums to discuss the condo residents continuing to have the ability to use Old Bridgeport Avenue, which is a private road. The applicant's civil engineer, architect, and traffic engineer also reviewed the details of their individual design work and studies. Mr. Rossetti, were there any other reports, material, or correspondence received within the time period for this application that need to be acknowledged for the record?
There's an engineering letter that was sent to the applicants, will also be posted online shortly.
Okay, so you are to be on the lookout for that online. All right, is that the city engineer letter?
Affirmative.
Okay, so a letter from the city engineer has been received and will be posted. So Attorney Bellis, it looks like you're representing the applicant. So
I am.
identify yourself for the record, and could you start by explaining the revised site plans?
For the record, I'm attorney Stephen Bellis. I represent the applicant Brookview Apartments LLC. And just so, I know you have a lot of these hearings. We already went over everything in this particular hearing the first time, but I had to keep the hearing open because we did not have our wetlands approval at that time. So that's why the hearing was kept open. So you should have received a letter from the Inlands Wetlands Commission. Mine is dated June 16th, 2022, where they approved the Wetlands Commission approved our application. And again, I don't know what's posted online or not, but that's something that I know was given to Alex.
Yeah, that's online.
Okay, fair enough.
We don't know what the conditions were.
I might. It didn't say in the letter, Tony.
No, the letter just generally said that there were conditions.
The Wetlands Commission generally has their general conditions that they
Okay, is that what they
impose.
were referring to? Okay,
Yeah, and I think they also wanted to have, in addition, they wanted the John Cook to review the plantings
okay,
of
no, nothing
trees.
that would affect the building location or parking or anything like that. So that the
No.
retaining walls that are near the wetlands, they're essentially been approved.
Yeah, the only conditions were, as I said, general conditions, that John Cook approved the plantings. And then the last condition was whatever the engineering department may have had as our city engineer, that is,
Okay.
that'd be a condition. So those were the conditions.
Okay, so what are
Yeah.
the changes in?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So for the, this is not going to take as long as your last hearing. I
No,
apologize. for the
that's all
last
right.
one.
You take as long as you
Oh,
need.
no, yeah, I can do this quickly. So basically, what the Wetlands Commission approved was a new, maybe slightly different from what you saw last time, but I don't know that it's that much different. But I'd rather Pat Rose and Manny Silva just walk you through that as an engineer and architect than me as an attorney, if that's okay.
Sure.
So one of those gentlemen, I think they're both online. If they can be let in, please, Alex.
Okay, so Manny Silva from Rose T-Zone Company, 35 Brentwood Avenue, civil engineer, registered in the state of Connecticut. So the project is basically to create a similar building to what's created on the other side of this property. This is a picture of that that Mr. Blakeman built basically here. That's the existing building.
Mhm.
And our property is going to be here. As you can see in red is the existing trees that Wetlands had us kind of make pop out of the survey. The original proposal that you saw
Pop
had
out of
2
the
parking
survey.
fields.
Mr. Silva,
What's
what
that?
do you mean pop, what do you mean pop out of the survey?
He
Meaning
means
stick out, like be
delineate,
more,
so you know
yeah.
where they
So
are.
he wanted us to,
Identified?
identify me
Okay.
more prominent
Alright.
on the plan.
Okay, got
He
it.
was having trouble seeing them.
All right.
So the last month you saw this here where you asked us to pull back the building away from Sunwood and try to make the parking lot a little more efficient. And then while we were going through Wetlands, they also asked us to try to make things more efficient, less pavement, things of that nature. So what we have, as you can see here, what we have now is that we do have more of a buffered area here. And I don't know why the colors are freaking out here, but yeah, here we go. So we have more of a buffer here from Sunwood, and we also slid the building back and then into the right here so that we can make the parking lot more efficient and then get even more green space here before ahead of the wall. So essentially we have the same amount of parking spaces. It's just that we've slid the building back and then to the right to try to get that single loaded island out of here and make a double loaded island here.
Mhm.
And then that gave us some extra room because there's no need for an extra maneuvering space here. We did have some plantings along Sunwood. Again, Wetlands had us put these red lines in. This is basically what the existing limits of disturbance are on the property today. You can see here's the Hunan Pond building. Here's the parking lot to the north side. I mean, the upper side of it, the parking lot to the lower side, and how it was adjacent to with a lawn area to the brook here.
Mhm.
So those are basically the changes. We did have also some engineering comments that I got here, and I'll go over them quickly. The first one was to remove plantings that were over 18 inches on either side of the driveway. We did that on
Could you
on
enlarge the screen, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Zoom that in, make that go big.
Up on the top right, is that, okay, there we go. That's better.
So it was to remove the plantings that are 18 inches or taller on adjacent to the driveway. We've done that. Add radii to the curb lines, which means he just wanted us to call out what the radiuses were. We did that on SP1, add a double yellow line at the entrance. I'll show you that we did that on SP1. Show and label all trees proposed, remove existing condition. Show and label all trees proposed to be removed. I did that. There's, I think, 3 that are going to be removed that are existing old growth trees, but we'll be replacing them. Provide a utility connection. That's a detail that we added to SP2. Add note to clean the 36-inch culvert that the brook kind of crosses under Sunbrook. We added a note to clean out the culvert. Call out section of ledge that we're going to need to create a better sight line for our driveway. We added that area on SP2. I'll show you there. Approval from WPCA. We had an approval from WPCA. We got it approved last month at the last month's meeting. Provide construction detail of the Coltex. We've added that to SP6. Provide detail of level spreader. We've also added that to SP6. Provide detail of Versalock wall. Bronco block. We had a detail of Versa green, which is a Bronco block. It's a Versalock wall that we can plant. I have a picture of that here, actually. It's basically going to look like that. And then you could plant things inside of the cubbies of the actual retaining wall, so it'll look nicer. The paving detail, we added that to SP1. Relocate soil piles, we did that. We just complied. Add a catch basin top detail, we added that to SP6, 7, I mean. Add a note to remove it. These are existing roof drains that come off of the building and into the brook. We'll remove those, obviously. We've added a note to remove those now. Provide details for demolition. We'll have a detailed demolition plan prior to building permit. Provide groundwater elevations. The groundwater elevation is about 190. So because the site's kind of a fill site, will be well above that, and no dewatering is anticipated. Relocate. They have a flat top basin in Sunwood. He wants us to relocate it and make it a curb type, and I'll show you where that is. It's basically, there's a flat top catch basin right here. It's in the middle of Sunwood.
When you refer to Sunwood, you're referring to Sunwood Drive, not
correct. Sunwood Drive.
condo.
Yes. No,
Yeah,
not the condo. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So there's a flat top basin right now, right here, which is in the middle of Sunwood Drive. In the travel lane, he wants us to push it off, and we'll do that. I have that in SP2. It'll show it. Again, some of the comments that they had was to add the paving detail. It's here. Again, there's that new basin top that we're going to put in Sunwood Drive. These are the 1, 2, 3 trees that are going to be affected, that are going to be removed. The rest of them will be maintained and protected. And again, we're going to plant some more trees, and I'll show you here later that we're going to plant a bunch of trees in here to supplement all this.
So is it those 3 trees have to be removed because of the condition, or they're not in a good location?
Well, it's because we're going to build this parking lot up a little bit,
No.
and they're going to be gone due to grading.
Oh, okay.
So the next thing was to add a utility trench detail, typical detail utility connection detail here. Again, I don't really want to go over everything again, but this is our stormwater system, which will have a reduction in discharge. I don't want to really rehash everything again, but here's the reduction for each storm event, ranging from 10% reduction at the 2 and 100-year storms up to 25% reduction at the 25-year storm. And then wetlands also asked us to do kind of a phased soil and erosion control plan. So prior to our storm drainage going in, we're going to have these temporary infiltration, these temporary swales cut in with with hay bales, kind of in a V formation. And that's when we're doing mass grading on the site, so that if it rains during that process, the water gets caught in these swales, and then it goes into a temporary retention basin here, where the material or any sediment gets settled out, and and the water is allowed to infiltrate into the ground instead of being discharging mud into it wouldn't discharge because we have silt fences, but it doesn't tax the silt fence system as much. And then, so this is our phase 1 soil and erosion control plan that we gave to wetlands. And then our phase 2, which is what you've seen already, is with the silt sacks in our proposed stormwater system. And then that's once our stormwater system goes online.
Now, all the
This is-
changes that you said that you made that were required by the city engineer.
Yes,
everything
we've already
was-
made them. This is
Yeah, but hold it. So does everything go back now to the city engineer for him to verify that those changes have been made?
correct. I'll write him a letter
Mhm.
like I normally do it. I just didn't have the time to do it when I got these.
Yeah.
But I'll draft him a letter with my responses line by line and then give him a revised set of plans.
Okay, so he signs off on everything then?
Correct. Again.
Okay.
Yep. This is the landscaping plan. Again, we had to do a substantial amount of plantings up here. Now that we have all that room up here. And then we have supplemented some large shade trees back here behind the building. We did do a bunch of plantings here because Mr. Cook would like us to eliminate this as a lawn area and have it just as a landscaped area here in the corner. And then we have some screening that we're going to plant on a planting berm here along the Sunwood property. That was something that was requested by the Sunwood condominium, I believe.
Is there new signage there at the entrance on the left where there's?
There's a sign here.
Yeah, okay. Is that? the
That's
current?
that's existing sign.
Is there any intent to upgrade it? Redo it?
Not, I believe so. But I don't have any details on that. And then I'm sure any kind of signage will have to come before you, before it goes in.
Absolutely. Yep,
Yeah. I just don't have those details right now.
that's fine.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted, this is Elaine Matto. I'm a fan of native plants,
Mhm.
as most of you know. So I'm looking at the pear trees and thinking you could find something different.
Yep. We can do, yep, we can look at that and make sure that we'll substitute that for a native tree instead of the
Thank you.
pears.
Appreciate it.
And not an issue. You can make that a condition, in fact, that we use all native plantings.
Yeah, well, that would be fantastic. I'm not so concerned really with the rhodies and azaleas, but if you can, I'm all native, that would be better. But I'm concerned about the pear in particular.
Okay. Yep.
But
Yeah,
the
the fruiting pears,
trees look
sure.
good. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. We'll switch out the pear.
How would you know that that's not native, Elaine? That's amazing.
China, invasive.
Yeah,
Problematic.
she gets me every time. I gotta up my game.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
No problem.
She's
No,
good.
I appreciate the
There's-
commentary.
There's lots of great native plants you can use.
Yep,
So,
I
Mr.
agree.
Silva, you need to take a little yellow Post-it and put it in the top of your screen and say, what would Commissioner Motto do?
Yeah, well, yep, I will. I
I'm
will.
gonna put that right in the regs.
Yeah,
Right.
they should. So again, here's that detail that the engineering asked us to put for the Coltech rechargers, and then that level spreader here. It's a kind of a riprap level spreader that kind of lets water trickle over the edge here and into the brook, instead of being like a point discharge of a pipe or something being discharged. It'll just slowly leak water over.
Mr. Silva, that's a new SP6.
Yeah, it's a different, because we added these two details
Yeah,
from the engineering comments.
right.
Yes, it is a new SP6, correct.
Okay. So has that been submitted for posting?
It has not, because I did it today.
Oh, okay.
Um,
And I noticed a couple of the other ones had SP like 3A and 3B.
Right, that is the phase drawing that we had to do for this phased soil erosion control we did for the wetlands, per wetlands.
But that, all those new ones sheets are coming into the office for posting.
Correct.
Okay.
And then we'll have, everybody in all the departments will have another look at it, and then hopefully all the comments have been addressed, and we won't have any more.
Okay.
Um, again, this is our downstream defender. This sheet has not changed since last time. We have our snouts for catch basins. Here's the detail of the green units from Versalock, which will allow some plantings on the actual wall. And then I'll go over to Pat, and then he'll describe. I don't know if anything changed on the buildings. I don't think they did, but I'll let Pat talk about the building.
Mr. Silva, back up a sheet.
Yep.
Yeah, can we make some comments on the site
Sure.
plan?
Yeah, no problem.
Can I just ask Tony, before you start on SP7, up in the revisions, you've got 2 more lines filled in of revisions.
Because
So-
when I do a revision on a plan set,
Yeah.
I put the revision date on all the plans just so everybody can look at the thing as a whole.
On
So
each sheet, you mean?
yes, yeah. So
So it's
once I
got-
do a revision on one sheet, I put
Okay.
the revision as a whole set.
Okay. All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Yep.
Mr. Panico, you had a question?
Yeah, I have maybe half a dozen of relatively minor questions.
Go ahead.
First, out of curiosity, the edge of the lower parking lot on the old Bridgeport Avenue side, why is that kink in that line? Is there a
Is there a
reason for
kink?
it?
Just because there's a kink in the property line right here. You can see it here.
I mean, why couldn't it just go straight?
Because it'd go over the property line.
Over the property line? What property line?
This one right here, the right,
No. I'm talking about, you see where you got the 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces on one line, and then you turn it a minor kink. Why not carry the major line straight
Oh,
out
those.
towards the street?
I mean, we can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I mean-
But I think what happens is that I was trying to maintain some separation from this.
Well, you won't increase it. You won't decrease it. You'll increase it.
Yeah, turn the parking
Okay.
spaces back so they're all parallel. I think.
Yeah,
it's
no,
a-
I can make it straight. That's not an
Panico
issue.
thing.
I'll
In
make it
effect,
straight.
that triangular pavement between the 2 stalls down here
Right here. Yeah.
becomes part of the green space.
That's
Correct.
right.
Yep.
Okay, that's easy.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll just rotate that.
I gotta check these off. Any possibility of widening out the entrance and creating a median divided entrance?
Yeah, we can put an esplanade in there.
in
It's
and
not
out.
going to be. It's not going to be big, and the
Very
length of
No,
it's
it
not going
doesn't
to be
have
large.
to be big. It also
Yeah.
gives you a spot if you want to put a sign that says, here's our apartments.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, I noticed, now you got 3 handicap spaces. I originally you only had 2 on the one I saw.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
unless I missed it. Okay, you took care of that already. What about electric vehicle parking stations?
We talked about that with the owner. He'd like to put a couple.
Okay, so just tentatively locate them.
Yeah.
You're not cast in stone.
Right. Right.
Okay,
I
you'll
think
take care of
it's
that?
going to be wherever the closest where the transformers are is where we're going to put them.
Okay.
Because he's looking at putting it at the other building, existing building also. So we've got to work beyond that.
All right, 2 more questions. Okay. Before we leave, I want to make sure you put on your detail sheet the details for the dumpster, because we want to make sure it relates properly to the main building architecturally and materials. And also, I would like you to provide for a walking access to the dumpster area without having to open the big gates, because it tends to be that somebody does that and then they don't close the gate.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you could incorporate that and then show us a detail.
Okay.
All right. And now also the final thing and related to the dumpster is if you look on the plan with your sight lines,
Okay.
can you show me the plan with the sight lines?
Sure.
What sheet would that be?
SP1, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Or yeah.
There it is.
SP0 or yeah. go
That
ahead.
works. You see the sight line?
Mm-hmm.
It goes right through the dumpster.
Right.
And yet the dumpster doesn't show on your cross section reflecting.
No,
the
because
dirt.
it'll be much lower. It'll be like right in here.
Huh?
It's
No.
because
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
apologize. I was mistaking the curb. No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. You're right.
yeah, it'll
I
be like
take
a
that
little
back.
box in here.
Good.
It'll be down
Okay.
below. Yeah.
That solves that one very easy. Okay, and then one final thing, I assume you're gonna put extruded concrete curbing on the site, not bituminous?
That, I believe that's correct, yes, except for around where the sidewalks are near the building, that'll be cast in place. with the
Yeah, that'll be
sidewalk.
part of the sidewalk.
Yeah, yeah.
And the sidewalk width will reflect it to allow for the overhang?
That's correct.
Okay.
So there's sufficient sidewalks all around? Mr.
Yeah, they're gonna
Campbell,
have, they're
right
gonna
there?
come around, have some stairs, and there's gonna come to here to the center, some stairs up here to the upper area. And then
Okay.
we're going to wetlands to get a kind of a stone ash trail with a bridge across the brook to connect the two properties together. It's gonna come along here and then
Mhm.
it's gonna come up this way.
On the first property, if you're standing in there from the street, I think from what I recall, when we did a tour of it, the back right corner had an outdoor seating area. Is there anything planned like that for this particular property? And
Not at this time. Like I said, we are going to have, we're going to connect the two properties with a trail and a bridge over
Mhm.
and there's a waterfall here.
yes, I
Um,
remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we're going to put a precast plank across here. But
Mhm.
we have, that's going to be a separate application to wetlands that we
Mhm.
haven't received yet.
Right,
Yep.
but there's no other plans for like an outdoor picnic area, dog?
No, I mean, what we have is, this is going to be like a flat area out here in the
Mhm.
back.
Mhm.
And that'll be their recreation space out here. And again, we are going to tie the two properties together. So it's basically one property. It's not two lots.
Right, yeah.
So
Nope.
they're going to be able to cross over.
No
The
fencing?
shared amenities, is that the reason, or is it just so that the two properties are connected?
I can't say about the shared amenities, but I believe that the intent is to make this one development. So that shared amenities is a possibility. It might, the owner's not here. He would be the one to answer that question.
Okay.
But I believe that's the intent, is to make this one development that kind of works together.
All right, so no fencing in that open area, recreation?
No,
area?
no.
Okay, would it require it because of the topography, the pitch?
No, the only place that we would think we need floral protection is right along this area here that has kind of a stone, it's a channelized stone channel.
Mhm.
And maybe we'll need some fencing along the top of this retaining wall. Not maybe, we will have fencing along the top of this retaining wall per building code. I think that's the only place that we'd have to concern. And then we have a guardrail right here for these vehicles that have a slope that comes down to this area.
Right, okay.
Some of these are 2 bedrooms, right? In here?
No,
No, there's only 1 bedroom?
No.
Okay.
they're
only
one
because
bedrooms
of-
or one bedrooms or one bedrooms with office.
Okay, because the only thing I was thinking of, if there was small children in the area and you do have a brook that's open, right? So it would be like an attractive nuisance for them to be running around and going into the brook or something.
Called attentive parenting.
Yeah. I ran through some brooks in my day.
So did I. But I got caught every time. All right,
You're
so anything else?
still
Mr.
alive.
Silva? Yeah, I am.
Unless Pat wants to say anything about the building, I think I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Rose, what do you have for us? Anything?
Pat Rose from Rose Tizo. The building is the same building that we presented previously. The same materials that were used on the phase 1 building over by Noblebrook is the same what we're going to use on this building.
What I have in my notes is siding 3 stories, shakes, upper and gable.
Upper shakes, siding on the lower 3 stories, correct. Some stone on the bottom. Actually, this picture is purely the existing building mirrored. And actually, that's what our building is going to look like, because we're at 3 stories as you're closer to Sunwood, and it goes down to 4 stories towards the entrance of the property.
What's
where
the
you drop it in.
orientation of this building now?
What's that?
What's the orientation of this building? This side.
This side will be facing Sunwood condominiums.
Sunwood, that's
Okay.
Sunwood. This is
This will be facing Sunwood Drive, and that'll be
Oh,
facing
alright.
Old Bridgeport Avenue.
Okay.
It's not, I mean, we're not gonna have this retaining wall like this, like they do. Like, this is the one that's already built.
Yeah.
Um,
It's gonna be a sidewalk, stairs down and sidewalk.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Pianico, do you think this is like the best front to be facing Sunwood Drive?
Well, it seems to be what works best for the building functionally.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can we see that elevation that's going to face Sunwood?
The front elevation is one that's facing Sunwood, yes.
The so-called front, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this
Does
one
anybody
shows
in the
like
commission have a
balconies.
problem with that?
Well, this one shows balconies. Go back to the other picture. It's the colored picture. That doesn't have
Yeah,
any
they're-
balconies.
Yeah, they're
it
right
does.
here.
Yeah.
Right
You
there.
can't see the one on the
Oh,
other
you,
side.
okay. Let me
Can't
put
see
my
it.
glasses on and get close. There they are.
Yeah, sorry, they're black rail, so you can't really see them.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's hard to
got
see.
it. Got
Yep,
it.
they're right there.
Yeah. There you go.
And there's
All
gonna
right.
be, they're gonna be in here.
There you go. All right. Sorry
Um,
about that.
Can we go back to that front elevation again?
Sure.
Okay, so we have the air exchanger panels and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
And this is recessed,
Those will
Tony.
be
This
just
is all
blended as
recessed,
much as possible into the siding.
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
What did you just say, Mr. Panico, about the siding?
The mechanical units or the vents for them.
Okay.
And you try and get them, painted so that it's similar color to the siding as best you can.
Yeah, we don't want them to stand out.
You want them white and popping out.
Yeah, that's, you should be able to do that without, by matching the color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Rose?
No, that's the same, similar building. The layout hasn't changed since our previous public hearing.
Okay.
Inside the building.
Is it your intent that the buildings be complementary in type of masonry materials, type of siding, color of siding, et cetera?
Yes, they're going to be the same as the
Okay,
original Brookview building.
okay. So if any commissioners want to know, go out and look at the existing building.
Yeah. All right.
And the view of that building that faces the driveway, the one that we weren't able to use, will be the same as this elevation that faces Sunwood.
Correct.
Okay, so if you have any reservations about the elevation that you would face, that was face Sunwood, you can see it over there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. All right, so any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Rose or Mr. Silva?
I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Panico, got any final closing comments, questions or concerns?
No, I would like to see some of those revised, some of the revisions the engineer picked up on most of the concerns that I would normally pick up, so that's good. Saved me a lot of work.
Mhm.
But I will go through the site plan and give it a final look over.
So if there's anything that you have further questions of, you could work with the applicant on staff level?
Yes, once we get this written up and approved.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
if it-
All right, so is there anything holding us up from closing tonight's public hearing, or do we need to continue it?
not that I see, the applicant has
Yeah.
basically agreed to resolve all the concerns that we've raised.
Mhm.
So now we just got to see it on paper, that's all.
All right, so Mr. Rossetti, are there any members of the public who would like to, who've indicated that they would like to address the commission?
Not yet. If there's anyone who's listed as an attendee who would like to speak up, please raise your hand.
The first public hearing, I don't believe we had any comments at all.
That's correct.
Okay.
Going once, going twice.
All right, last call for any members of the public who are participating via Zoom. If you would like to address the commission on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand function.
Nada. Go ahead.
Okay, so what's the consensus of the commission? Are we ready to close the public hearing or do we need to continue it?
I think we're ready to close it.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, so is there any commissioner who would like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion, Commissioner Perkins.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Parkins. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, that's from Commissioner Kelly. So on the motion to close the public hearing for application 2208 made by Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
You know, I do have one quick question. I'm sorry. Is there any affordable units included in
Oh.
this?
good idea.
Yes, there was a voluntary 10%. So in which case it would be 3.
Mixed use. Okay, thank you. Just want to confirm that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I,
Okay, thank you for Commissioner Parkins for asking that. Commissioner Motto, you okay still with your aye?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Usel,
Aye.
Commissioner Onofrio,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion to close the public hearing, pass 6-0. Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Bellis and Mr.
Thank you
Rio
all
and
for
Mr.
hearing us
Silva.
tonight.
Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Have a great
See you
night.
later, guys.
Take care, guys.
All right, so the next agenda item was to be approval of the June 14th, 2022 minutes, but from mid-afternoon, I do not see the minutes as having been submitted. So we cannot take any action on that at this time. Final agenda item reads as discussion of meeting platform and dates. First of all, for dates, we did get feedback from all the commissioners, and it's based on the feedback from everyone. Our next meeting is July 29th, which we knew, June 29th, which we knew about. But in July, our regular meeting would be July 12th, and the special meeting would be July 20th. In August, the regular meeting would be August 9th, and the special meeting would be August 17th. Does anybody have any comments about that?
Could you repeat the July dates?
Sure, July 12th is the regular.
Yeah.
July 20th is our special.
And you think we can manage with just one special meeting a month, I guess, with our,
That's what we're gonna try.
and we have one next week as well,
Yeah,
Yes.
29.
29th. Yeah,
Mm,
and
There's
then we would,
three this month, yeah.
yeah, and then we would go to 2 for July and August. Years ago, we were insistent that having only one.
years ago. Mm,
That's years ago.
When we had 4-hour meetings from 7 to 11 at night.
That's true, yeah. That
Yeah.
remember.
All right, so, and then the other thing about the platform, it occurred to me when I was at the gas station last week that any excuse I have to not have to drive and would be preferable for me. I don't know how it is for everybody else. I know that the Zoom is not something that everybody is comfortable with from the public. And of course, we don't want to shortchange the public, and that's why we did resume in-person meetings in addition to the Zoom and the call-in and everything. So I'd just like to find out from the commission for the months of July and August, should we continue with in-person and Zoom? Or what?
I like having the Zoom option, I must say.
Yeah, we wouldn't
Yeah.
not have.
Oh, you're
Zoom.
not, oh, okay,
It would
yeah.
be both, or should we just have Zoom? You
Well,
know,
I think for the continuation of the hearing we had
have to.
tonight, I think we should have it in person.
Yeah, that one
Oh,
is
aye.
an exception for sure. So that means, yeah, July 20th is when we are sort of hoping that would be on the agenda next. That's as Alex said, it's potential. So, and then maybe we could discuss it then as to how we're going to handle August, but we'll just have to, I don't know, find our bicycles or something. Down the hill. Or you know what? Well, maybe we'll carpool, Commissioner
A
Kelly.
little city shuttle
That's
service
fine.
would be nice.
That's right.
That's fine.
We'll start, Peter can come down from White Hills and pick me up and Ruth, and then we go down to City Hall. Anybody else wants to get on the shuttle? Just run it by Commissioner Kelly. So, okay.
The only thing that I do need some clarity on is, you
Mhm.
know, I have to send out these notices. So if,
Right.
let me just pull up the date to make sure I don't say I'm wrong. So July 12th, that's the regular meeting. Are we
Right.
planning on having that? I'll call the Zoom and in person a hybrid format, or are we just going with Zoom? And the same with
No, it's the
July
two.
20th.
It's in person on the 12th. It's you better do for July.
Hybrid on it, yeah.
both.
Okay.
Auditorium and Zoom.
Okay. And then for August,
We'll revisit it at the end of July, maybe.
okay, that just, if we do it at the end of July, then I have very little time to get the notices for August submitted on time. To get,
Oh,
like,
We have 2 weeks, right?
yeah,
Well, we could do it via email, can't we? Does it have to be
Well,
discussed?
it's to the public, right? It's not just to us.
correct.
So you
Yeah,
want-
I go down to town hall, you know, doesn't make a difference to me.
It's,
know what it
it's
would-
the big thing also is just, you know, telling applicants is if they're going to be in Zoom or if they're going to be in person. For some of them, it matters a lot. For some of them, it doesn't. It's just when it's black and white, nope, we're on Zoom, be ready. Okay, fine. Then they'll do it. If you tell them, oh, well, you know, commission hasn't made up their mind, they're going to discuss it at July, then, well, what are we
That's-
going to know?
Hmm.
It's,
Yeah, true.
I know it sounds crazy, but we,
Mm.
it's.
You know, we get comments both ways. If it's
I
by
know.
Zoom, how come we can't be there in City Hall? We have it there in City Hall and Zoom. Sometimes we get comments. We can't hear you from the, you know,
Auditorium.
auditorium. And so, Mr. Rossetti, weren't you going to talk to City Hall personnel about fixing the podium microphone?
Yeah, I will.
Or
ask,
can?
yeah.
It's been a 20-year battle.
I'm gonna say, we heard that.
Well, can we put another table right in front of the big conference table and where that honeycomb thing is? Can they not, you know, make the presentation there?
I will ask. I mean, the only other thing I'll leave out there is, as you, Charlie, and I know, in the past 6 months, how many people have actually come to City Hall?
They'll come if the agenda has an item on them that they're personally concerned about.
I think in 6 months, there might have been 20 different people.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It could be, even if one person, for that one person, that was an important reason to go to City Hall. So we have to accommodate them.
What do you plan to just have the public hearing meetings at City Hall?
The last two of each month
Yeah,
would be the 20th
last
and the
months, right?
17th, and then the regulars, the 12th and the 9th, only by Zoom.
Or hybrid if you prefer, but only by Zoom would be fine with me.
Hybrid to me is Zoom and in
Is-
person. What's hybrid?
Yeah, that's hybrid, Zoom
Yeah.
and in person.
Right.
So Elaine, I thought you just said that.
No, I'd say if you want to have, what did I say? I would say if you want to have City Hall open, maybe just for the public hearing dates.
You're right. Which would be July 20th and August 17th. So for our
Yeah.
regular meetings on July 12th and August 9th, Zoom only.
Zoom, yeah.
What if you have continuations of public hearings on regular meetings? Based on,
I never try to do that, just so we don't
Yeah.
get in situations like that. And then also it helps keep track of dates.
okay, I think that would work, because really the only reason we would be in person is to accommodate the public that wants to come out and speak during a public hearing.
Mhm. So we just have to be careful of how the schedule,
All right,
the
so
agenda items, how they line up.
how about next Wednesday? What are we doing?
That's special meeting,
Hybrid.
hybrid. Okay. All right.
All right, so
And the
the
agenda.
12th,
finalized.
the 12th would be
Zoom,
Zoom, and the 20th would be in person or
hybrid.
hybrid. and the 9th would be Zoom, and the 17th would be,
Hybrid.
okay.
Okay.
All right, I
Right.
can see how that goes.
Yep.
Do we know
Yeah.
what's happening on the 29th yet? Have you said that yet, Alex?
Yes. Next week.
Yes.
It hasn't been posted, but it's been sort
Okay.
of assimilated. So, okay. So any other questions about how we're going to proceed? And there's extra chairs in the auditorium. So if you haven't been attending in person, we'll find a chair for you. Don't let that hold you up.
There's a lot of extra chairs.
Might happen.
So, okay. Anything else then having to do with the topic of meetings or the method that we're going to do it? Okay, hearing none then, I'm going to declare that the meeting's adjourned as of 8:09 p.m. Thank you.
Night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Everyone.
Here, have a good
Everyone.
night.
Take care.